India's infrastructure is going through a green transition. It's already built some of the world's largest solar parks. Now solar panels adorn the tops of trains and stations, as well as airports. Looks like the government's fast-tracking its push towards renewable energy. But India doesn't see itself becoming carbon neutral until 2070, way behind other world powers. And international investors view the country as both risky and vulnerable, especially to climate change. That's why it'll need to prove its green credentials on more levels than one.
This metro station in Delhi is partially running on solar power. Now it's on track to become the world's first metro station to get all its electricity needs from solar power. Anuj Dayal, communication head of Delhi Metro, has been working on this project for more than 5 years now. He plans to build more solar-powered stations across the capital city.
Delhi Metro's philosophy is very clear. We want to generate as much non-conventional energy. Apart from whatever is supplied by the grid, we want to generate a lot of energy through solar sources.
The 60-year-old is proud of how far India's first metro rail system has progressed since its introduction 28 years ago.
Everybody is worried about the climatic change which is coming across. So we all want to be part of the revolution which will lower the carbon footprint and control all of this. I'm glad that Delhi Metro is playing a very important part in all this.
In recent years, India has ramped up its solar energy capacity and currently ranks 4th in the world in terms of solar power production. The country is now home to some of the largest solar power plants. India's energy demand will increase more than any other country over the next 2 decades. To meet this demand, India has announced the ambitious target for 2030. That includes installing 500 gigawatts of renewable energy and reducing 1 billion tons of carbon emission. In the outskirts of Delhi, solar power plants are springing up across the city. Aviral Mahajan, who heads one of those companies, says that India is on its way to becoming the manufacturing hub for the world.
Solar energy is the future. There are going to be technological changes, there are going to be technological advancements, and India is at that point of time where we can answer the world that we are here and the world can manufacture their panels in India.
As solar energy gains traction across the country, many households and public offices are also turning to solar power for their daily consumption. Karthik Sachdeva, who runs a solar panel installation company, says he can barely keep up with the job orders.
The demand in last 2-3 years has gone exponential. Every month we are getting more than 1,000 inquiries, and every day we're getting 3 to 4 orders that we are executing in various parts of Delhi.
With around 300 sunny days a year, India has the potential to lead the world in solar electricity. And Delhi is also currently subsidizing schemes to help people in rural areas switch to solar power. That could be transformational for millions of Indians, especially for its poorest of citizens.
Let's pick up on that last point with Chandra Bhushan, President and CEO of the International Forum for Environment, Sustainability and Technology, or IFOREST. He's in Delhi. How can the poor benefit most from renewables, considering climate change does hit them hardest?
Well, energy access is a major issue in India, and if we can provide that energy through renewable sources, it is a co-benefit. In a sense that it is environmentally sustainable, it mitigates climate change, as well as provide electricity to the most needed. And also because renewable is now cheaper, so they also get affordable electricity. So both from climate, environment, and energy access perspective, it is a co-benefit.
Why then has it gone so wrong in some cases? A decade on, India's first solar park in Gujarat has provided next to no jobs for locals or women. It's taken away acres of grazing land, and residents are still waiting for clean drinking water, free electricity and irrigation.
Well, water and electricity is government's responsibility. It is not the responsibility of a solar park to do that. So if there is some problem in terms of providing social services, then I think the responsibility should be put on the government, not on an energy company. Whereas I would like energy company to be much more responsible, but the example of Charanka and others are one of issues. I believe that companies will be much more responsible. There are regulations that are coming in place as far as renewable energy is concerned. So these issues should not distract us from the need for India to install as much renewable energy as possible. Otherwise, the option for India is to go fossil fuels. So the world has to decide if it wants India to continue with fossil fuel or it wants to pick up small issues and obstruct the development of renewable energy.
But does India have the, if I can just butt in, sorry, does India have the financial responsibility, the transparency and viability when it comes to these projects to convince international investors that it's the place to invest?
I believe India has a very robust financial system. And now the share market in India, if you're a publicly listed company, you have to now disclose social and environmental performance as well. So we have, it is for the international capital to decide whether it wants to come to India or not. India is an opportunity, both to solve the climate crisis as well as an opportunity as a market. So I'm not so much bothered about the small issue that international market is raising on these things. India is big enough market, is a responsible country on these issues, and we will be able to resolve it.
Why then have you said, in your own words, that India is classed as a vulnerable and risky investment?
I'm not sure that, I don't know from where you have picked this up.
It was in a recent keynote address that you gave, and you mentioned that we need to move forward. We don't have to discuss and debate whether or not we need to go carbon neutral. We have to be carbon neutral. And in that sense, you had mentioned that there was a lot of hesitancy amongst international investors, although the money is there. We're seeing a huge global shift towards renewables.
Listen. As I said, India is a vast opportunity to solve climate crisis. India is a vast opportunity to provide energy access. India is a vast opportunity to reduce inequality in the world. Now, whether the world wants to use it as an opportunity or world wants to see it as a risk is something that the international capital has to think about. As far as we think in India, we think there is scope for improvement in every area, as there is scope for improvement across the world on climate.
Sure.
Today, you can see that the Russian gas crisis has meant that the fossil fuel is not going away from developed world as well. Okay, so I don't think it's time to start thinking about small issues and put a question mark on investment on renewable energy in India.
Well, Chandra, let's look at some of the dates. Let's look ahead, because the EU aims to be carbon neutral by 2050. China, the world's biggest polluter, 2060. India, 2070. How does that make you feel?
Oh, it is perfectly all right. EU should go carbon neutral by 2030. If you want India to go carbon neutral by 2050, you have historical responsibility of emitting 1/4 of global emissions. Today, Pakistan is under floods not because Pakistan has emitted, because of what developed world emitted for the past 100 years. I think let's not forget history. We were not born today.
But we are all feeling the same effects today, aren't we?
Absolutely. Therefore, if developed world is really concerned about climate change, it needs to become net zero as fast and as quickly as possible. So instead of questioning India's 2070, I think it is important for you to question 2050 of EU, Europe. And I think that will be the starting point for this conversation.
Well, unfortunately, we have to leave the interview there, but definitely a good point that you bring up. Chandra Bhushan, thank you very much for being on DW News Asia today.
Thank you.